So this is John chapter 12, the scripture for the 16th of December. Now, this takes place likely not more than a couple of months after the resurrection of Lazarus. You see, Jesus comes out of hiding to attend the Passover festival in Jerusalem, and this festival takes place around Easter, when we celebrate Easter, in late March or early April. And we know that John 11, taking place after John 10, probably falls around December or January sometime, because John 10 took place at the festival of dedication, or Hanukkah. So Jesus, a couple months after healing Lazarus, goes and visits Mary, Martha, and Lazarus again. And Jesus openly receives their love through the dinner he shares with them and the perfume that Mary uses to anoint his feet. This perfume costs, in my new Revised Standard Version, it says 300 denarii, which translates to almost a year's wages for a laborer. This is an excessive amount of perfume, an excessively costly perfume to give to Jesus, and yet there's a time and a place to offer extravagant gifts to God for no other reason than, I love you, God. Just the same way that there's a time and a place to offer extravagant gifts to your kids or your spouse or your parents or dear friends, those you love. There's also a time and a place to care for the poor. And I want to be clear here that one should not be used to shun those who elect to pursue the other. There are ways that we can do both. We can both serve the poor and also express our deep love of God. Now, as Jesus enters Jerusalem, the crowd welcoming him, probably, and as Scripture says, definitely, including those who had seen his healing of Lazarus, they want to see both him and this guy who was once dead and who's now alive again. So John offers the reaction of both the religious leaders, on the one hand, juxtaposed with the reaction of Greeks, perhaps God-believing Greeks, but they may have also been Gentiles. And he puts these back to back. The religious leaders, who should have seen Jesus clearly, are frustrated that Jesus has drawn large crowds because they see their power as being threatened by this upstart prophet from Galilee. Now, the Greeks, again, these may be Gentiles, they perceive clearly what the religious leaders are unwilling to see, that Jesus is worth seeing. And then Jesus, in response to that, shares clear purpose with them. He's clearest about his mission, more than he's ever been, I think, in the Gospel of John. He says that like a grain of wheat, he must die in order to bear fruit. And in response to this clear statement of purpose, God speaks to all of those gathered, vocally agreeing with Jesus' statement. Now, again here, Jesus plays on words in discussing that time when he will be lifted up from the earth. Both crucifixion and glorification are in mind here. And I think that it's important to note, we cannot separate Christ's cross from Christ's crown, particularly at this point in the Gospel of John. They are, in one sense anyway, synonymous. Now, the book of signs, this first part of the book of John, closes with a summary of Jesus' work, offering, also some form of logic as to why people would refuse to believe in spite of the many and impressive signs that Jesus has given. There are two reasons given for why somebody might not believe. These are, divinely based. It's a divinely based reason and a human based reason, and they overlap significantly, I think. Loving human glory is essentially being content with the natural. It's pride. And pride is also what tends to blind one's eyes and harden one's heart. Those opposing Jesus in spite of signs are ultimately those who are too proud to lose their human glory and too proud to admit that they may have been wrong about God. But Jesus has not come to judge the world, Jesus says. Jesus came to save it. So perhaps you've been in darkness because of pride. If you have, come to the light of Christ. Even if it involves taking egg on your face for a short term, the long-term gains are more than worth it. I wonder, when have you set pride and glory aside in order to follow Jesus. That's all for John chapter 12. Tomorrow, the 17th, we'll look at John chapter 13. May God bless you in your reading of Scripture.